Elias Kane stood at the edge of the arena, his heart still pounding from the last challenge. He had survived the maze, but he knew the worst was yet to come. Across from him, Lord Craxus and the other warriors stood tall, barely even tired. To them, this was just another competition. To Elias, it was survival. The announcer's voice boomed across the Colosseum. Round 2. The Trial of Fire. The ground trembled, and sections of the arena shifted. Platforms rose, each surrounded by burning flames. The challenge was clear: jump, balance, and fight while avoiding the deadly inferno below. Elias sighed. Of course, it's lava. Why wouldn't it be lava? Vieira, watching from above, leaned forward with interest. Most of the competitors would use their superior strength to leap across the platforms, but she was curious to see how the human would handle it. A loud horn signaled the start. The warriors moved first, leaping from platform to platform with incredible speed and power. Some could fly, others had enhanced reflexes, but Elias had neither. He had only his instincts and experience. He took a deep breath and jumped to the first platform, barely making it. The heat from below was intense, and the ground under his feet was unstable. He crouched low, keeping his balance. Craxus, already ahead, smirked. "This is where you fall, human." Elias ignored him. Instead of rushing, he analyzed the pattern of the moving platforms. He noticed that some tilted when too much weight was applied, while others shifted direction unpredictably. The stronger warriors were relying on power alone, but Elias knew that wouldn't work for him. He waited, observed, then he moved. He jumped at the right moment, landing on a platform just as it shifted toward another. Step by step, he used his agility and quick thinking to navigate the course while the others focused on brute force. Suddenly, one of the warriors miscalculated a jump and fell into the flames, his armor melting as he screamed. The crowd roared in excitement. Elias gritted his teeth. This wasn't just a test, it was a death match. Craxus, now closer, aimed a punch at Elias, trying to knock him off the platform. Elias ducked at the last second, using the warlord's momentum against him. Craxus stumbled but managed to regain balance. He glared at Elias with fury. Vieira smiled from above. "He's thinking 3 steps ahead," she murmured to herself. Interesting. With one final leap, Elias reached the final platform. The horn blasted again. He had survived again. The crowd was silent for a moment, then erupted in disbelief. A human had just outmaneuvered some of the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Craxus clenched his fists. He wasn't done with Elias yet. Elias exhaled. 2 rounds down, but he knew the hardest test was yet to come. Princess Vieira stood on the grand balcony of the Zenith Palace, gazing at the twin moons of her homeworld. She was the most desired royal in the galaxy, the daughter of the supreme monarch, and the heir to the Zenith Dominion, one of the most powerful empires in the universe. Yet despite all the power and wealth surrounding her, she felt trapped. Dozens of noble houses and powerful warlords sent their finest warriors, brilliant scholars, and cunning diplomats to win her hand. The Drakthon warlords boasted their battle scars and strength. The Tselthari intellectuals displayed their knowledge of the cosmos. The Silurian telepaths whispered promises of eternal devotion. Yet none of them interested her. They were all predictable. Vieira wanted something different. Her thoughts were interrupted by her advisor, a tall, silver-skinned alien named Ralzon. He bowed slightly before speaking. "The human ambassador has arrived, Your Highness," he said. Vieira's expression brightened. "Excellent. Bring him to the royal hall." Ralzon hesitated. "Forgive me, Princess, but are you truly interested in a human? They are weaker than most species, their technology is primitive, and their empire is barely a century old." Vieira turned to face him, her golden eyes glowing softly. "And yet, despite all that, humans continue to survive, adapt, and thrive. They are not the strongest, the smartest, or the most advanced, but they are the most determined." She smiled. That is why I wish to meet this one. Ralzan bowed again and left to fetch the human. Moments later, Commander Elias Kane stepped into the Grand Hall. Unlike the towering Zenith nobles, Elias was of average height, his dark blue uniform crisp but simple. He was used to dealing with alien royalty, but he had never expected a personal invitation from the most sought-after princess in the galaxy. Vieira studied him with quiet curiosity. He looked ordinary, at least compared to the other suitors. No shining armor, no glowing eyes, no grand titles. Just a man, standing tall, his expression calm but cautious. "Commander Kane," she said, her voice smooth and regal. "Welcome to Zenith Prime." Elias bowed respectfully. "It's an honor, Your Highness." She gestured toward a table set with exotic fruits and golden goblets of nectar. "Sit, let us talk." Elias hesitated. He had expected formal greetings, political negotiations, not a private meeting with the princess herself. Still, he sat across from her. "I have met warriors stronger than you," Vieira said, watching him closely. "Scholars wiser than you, beings more powerful than you. And yet, none of them interest me." Elias raised an eyebrow. "And I do." A slow smile crossed her lips. "Yes, because you are human." For the first time since arriving, Elias felt truly uneasy. He had come as a diplomat, but now he was part of something much bigger, and he had no idea what to expect next. Elias Kane stood on the final platform, catching his breath. The heat from the trial of fire still burned against his skin, but he had survived. Around him, the defeated competitors were either recovering from burns or being carried away by medical drones. Lord Craxus stepped forward, his red eyes burning with fury. "You are lucky, human," he growled, "but luck will not save you in the next round." Elias smirked. "Funny, I was just about to say the same thing to you." Vieira, watching from above, chuckled softly. This human continued to surprise her. He was not the strongest, nor the fastest, but he adapted. He found ways to win where others would fall. The announcer's voice thundered across the arena. Round 3. The Trial of Strength. A massive, circular battlefield rose from the center of the arena. It was made of thick stone, designed for combat. The rules were simple: defeat your opponent and remain standing. Elias sighed. "I was hoping for a strategy game." Craxus grinned. "No more running, human. Now, you fight." Elias was led to one side of the battlefield. Across from him stood Craxus, his towering frame like a mountain of muscle. The warlord cracked his knuckles, eager for battle. A loud gong rang through the air. The fight had begun. Craxus charged like a beast, swinging a massive fist at Elias. The human barely dodged in time, feeling the air shake from the impact. If that punch had landed, it would have broken bones. Elias knew he couldn't win in a direct fight. He had to be smarter. He focused on speed, dodging every attack, letting Craxus waste energy. The warlord became more aggressive, swinging faster, trying to corner him. Elias ducked, sidestepped, and rolled away, frustrating his opponent. "Stand and fight," Craxus roared. Elias smirked. "Make me." The crowd watched in disbelief. No one had ever dared to mock Craxus before. Vieira's eyes gleamed with amusement. "He's not just fighting. He's playing with him." Craxus, now enraged, made a mistake. He swung too wide. Elias saw his chance. Using his momentum, Elias ducked under Craxus's arm and delivered a sharp kick to the back of his knee. The warlord stumbled, surprised by the sudden strike. Elias didn't stop. He moved swiftly, striking weak points behind the knee, under the ribs, the side of the head. Small, quick attacks that disoriented his opponent. Craxus roared in frustration, throwing a wild punch. Elias dodged again, and this time he swept Craxus's legs out from under him. The warlord crashed to the ground. The arena fell silent. Craxus tried to rise, but his body was slow, his breath heavy. Elias stood above him, fists clenched, waiting. The gong rang. Winner, Elias Kane. The crowd erupted in shock. A human had just defeated one of the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Vieira smiled. I knew it. Elias exhaled. 3 rounds down. But what was next? Elias Kane sat in silence, feeling the weight of the challenge before him. He had come to Zenith Prime as a diplomat, not a warrior. And yet, here he was, being forced to prove his worth to an empire that saw humans as weak. Across from him, Princess Vieira watched with amusement, her golden eyes filled with curiosity. She seemed to enjoy the idea of him standing against the arrogance of the galaxy's elite. Lord Craxus, the massive warlord who had barged in moments earlier, folded his arms. What's the matter, human? Afraid to accept? Elias let out a slow breath. He had been in worse situations before. He knew that refusing this challenge would make humanity look weak. But accepting it without understanding the rules could be even worse. I don't even know what I'm agreeing to, Elias said, keeping his voice calm. What exactly do you want me to do? Vieira leaned forward slightly. The ordeal of worthiness. Elias frowned. That doesn't sound fun. Craxus grinned. It is a test of strength, intelligence, and survival. Only the greatest warriors of the Dominion have completed it. Many do not survive. Elias sighed. Great. Sounds like a wonderful diplomatic exercise. Vieira smirked. You can refuse, of course. Elias looked at her, then at Craxus, then back at her. He knew he had no real choice. If he refused, humans would be mocked across the stars. If he accepted, he was walking into a challenge designed for warriors far stronger and faster than him. Finally, he nodded. Fine. I'll do it. Craxus laughed, slamming his fist on his chest. Good. Let's see if humans are as impressive as the princess believes. Vieira's smile widened. I was hoping you'd say that. Elias sighed again. He had no idea what he had just signed up for, but one thing was certain. He was about to find out what it really meant to be human in a galaxy that saw him as nothing more than an underdog. Elias Kane stood tall as his name flashed at the top of the leaderboard. The cheers of the crowd still echoed through the arena, but he could feel the tension shifting. He had won the trial of minds, proving that humans weren't just survivors. They were thinkers, strategists, and problem solvers. Craxus stood beside him, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. You surprised me again, human. But don't get too comfortable. There are still more challenges ahead. Elias smirked. And I suppose you think I'll fail soon. Craxus grunted. I hope you fail. It will make the galaxy feel normal again. Before Elias could respond, a sudden trumpet blast filled the air. The arena lights dimmed, and a large floating platform descended from the sky. Seated upon it was the Emperor of the Dominion, a towering figure wrapped in flowing silver robes. His reptilian face was calm, his golden eyes scanning the competitors. Beside him, Princess Vieira stepped forward. She held her head high, her sharp, elegant features glowing in the dim light. She gazed directly at Elias, her golden eyes filled with something strange. Approval. The Emperor's deep voice echoed through the arena. The ordeal of worthiness is nearly complete. The final trials will test more than just strength and intelligence. His gaze shifted to Elias. But first, a choice must be made. A hushed silence fell over the crowd. Even Craxus looked surprised. Vieira stepped closer, her voice smooth and commanding. Elias Kane of Earth, you have impressed the Dominion. Few outsiders have ever come this far. You are strong, clever, and stubborn. She smirked slightly at that last part. Elias raised an eyebrow. That sounds like a compliment, or an insult. She ignored him. You have earned something that many would die for, a personal invitation. The crowd gasped. Craxus' eyes widened. Elias, however, had no idea what was happening. Invitation. To what? The Emperor's expression remained unreadable. To stand beside the royal family. To become one of us. Elias blinked. Wait. What? Vieira smiled, but there was something deeper behind her gaze. You could end this ordeal now. No more trials. No more fights. Join the Dominion, serve as an advisor to the throne, and claim a place at my side. Elias felt his heart pound. The meaning behind her words was clear. This wasn't just a political offer. This was personal. The arena remained silent, waiting for his answer. Craxus finally broke the silence with a low chuckle. Be careful, human. An invitation from a princess is far more dangerous than any trial. Elias looked at Vieira, then at the Emperor, then at the crowd. His choices were clear. Take the offer and claim power, or refuse and face whatever deadly trials remained. He exhaled. What was he going to do? Elias Kane sat across from Princess Vieira, his mind racing with questions. Why had she called him here? What did she mean by saying she was interested in him because he was human? Vieira sipped from a golden goblet, her glowing golden eyes watching him with quiet amusement. Tell me, Commander Kane, what do humans desire most? Elias hesitated. This felt more like a test than a simple conversation. He leaned back slightly, choosing his words carefully. That depends on the human. Some want power, others want knowledge. Some seek adventure, others just want peace. Vieira smiled. Interesting. Most species have a single, clear desire. The Drakthun seek battle. The Tselthuri want knowledge. The Silurians crave unity. But humans are unpredictable. Elias shrugged. We adapt. It's how we survive. Vieira leaned forward slightly. And that is what fascinates me. Your kind should not be here, Commander. Your species is young. Your technology is far behind the great empires. And yet, humans continue to defy expectations. Elias met her gaze. We don't like being told what we can't do. The princess laughed softly. Exactly. That is why I find you more interesting than the others. She gestured around the grand hall, where holograms of her many suitors floated. They are all predictable. They know they are strong, or intelligent, or powerful. But you are something new, and I want to know more. Elias exhaled slowly. I appreciate the compliment, Your Highness, but I don't think the rest of the galaxy shares your opinion. To most of them, humans are just an upstart race. Vieira tilted her head. Perhaps. But that will change. You will prove them wrong. Before Elias could respond, the heavy doors of the hall burst open. A towering alien with crimson armor stomped inside, his deep voice echoing through the chamber. Princess Vieira, the warrior growled. This is an insult. A human is unworthy of your attention. Elias turned in his seat but stayed calm. He had seen aliens like this before, powerful, proud, and easily angered. Vieira's expression did not change. Lord Craxus, you forget your place. Craxus clenched his fists. I have fought in 100 wars. I have crushed enemies across the stars. I am the strongest of my kind. And yet you sit here with this weakling. Elias sighed. He had heard this kind of talk before. Humans were always underestimated in the galaxy. Vieira's voice turned sharp. Strength is not just muscles and weapons, Craxus. A true warrior is more than brute force. She glanced at Elias. I believe humans have a strength few others understand. Craxus sneered. Then let him prove it. Elias frowned. Prove what? The warlord smirked. That you deserve to stand among us. Vieira's eyes gleamed with excitement. Very well. She turned to Elias. Commander, are you ready to show the galaxy what a human can do? Elias exhaled. This was not how he had expected his diplomatic mission to go. To be continued. Elias Kane stood frozen in the center of the grand arena. The weight of the Emperor's offer pressed down on him like a mountain. A place beside the royal family. A position of power. No more trials. It was tempting. The crowd waited, thousands of alien eyes locked onto him. Some whispered, some gasped, but all were eager to hear his decision. Craxus stood nearby, arms crossed, watching closely. You should say yes, human. No one refuses the Emperor and walks away unharmed. Elias looked up at Princess Vieira. Her golden eyes met his, filled with expectation. She wasn't just offering him power, she was choosing him. But was it really a choice? He let out a slow breath. With all due respect, Your Majesty. He paused. I refuse. The arena fell into dead silence. Then whispers. Then roars of shock. Even Craxus raised an eyebrow. You just threw away the greatest offer of your life. Vieira's expression didn't change, but there was something in her eyes. Disappointment. Amusement. It was hard to tell. The Emperor's face remained unreadable. He nodded slowly. A bold answer, and a foolish one. His voice echoed with authority. Then you will face the final trial. The arena shifted once more. The floor trembled, and a massive gate began to rise from the ground. Behind it, something roared, deep, guttural, and hungry. Elias felt a chill crawl down his spine. Craxus smirked. Well, human, I hope you can fight monsters. The gate slammed open. A colossal beast emerged, covered in obsidian scales, its glowing blue eyes locked onto Elias. It had 6 legs, razor-sharp fangs, and a tail covered in spikes. The announcer's voice thundered. Final trial. The Beast of Dominion. The crowd erupted into wild cheers. They wanted blood. Elias swallowed hard. Oh great, a giant alien death lizard. Just what I needed. Vieira leaned forward on her throne, watching intently. This was the real test. Strength wouldn't be enough. Intelligence wouldn't be enough. Elias had to prove something greater, his will to survive. The beast roared and charged. Elias barely dodged as the creature's tail smashed into the ground where he had just been standing. The impact shook the entire arena. He ran, dodging as the beast swiped at him. Fighting was impossible. His punches wouldn't even scratch its armor-like hide. He needed a plan. His eyes darted around the arena. There had to be something, some kind of weakness. Then he saw it. Above, the flaming pillars from the previous round still burned, and the chains holding the arena floor together. They were weak. An idea formed. A crazy idea. A human idea. Elias smirked. All right, big guy, let's play. The final trial had begun. Elias Kane stood in the towering arena of Zenith Prime, feeling the weight of 1,000 alien eyes upon him. Massive holoscreens displayed his image alongside the other competitors, elite warriors from powerful species across the galaxy. Each of them had trained for years for combat, survival, and strategy. Elias, on the other hand, was just a human diplomat who had somehow ended up in an ancient alien tradition. Princess Vieira sat on a high throne above the arena, her golden eyes filled with amusement and anticipation. She believed in him. But Elias wasn't sure if that was a good thing. Lord Craxus stood beside him, grinning. I hope you're ready, human. The ordeal of worthiness is not for the weak. Elias gave a small shrug. I didn't come here to fight. But since I don't have a choice, I'll do my best. Craxus laughed loudly. Your best won't be enough. But at least you will entertain us before you fail. Elias ignored him and focused on the arena. The first challenge was about to begin. A booming voice echoed through the Colosseum. Round 1. The Gauntlet of Survival. The ground beneath them shifted, and suddenly, massive metal walls rose from the floor, forming a twisting labyrinth. The competitors were spread out across the maze, and Elias found himself alone in a narrow corridor. Then the real challenge began. The walls started shifting, closing in and opening new paths. Traps activated, flames burst from the floor, spikes shot out from the walls, and deadly alien creatures were released into the maze. Elias didn't have super strength or advanced reflexes like the others, but he had something they didn't: human adaptability. While the larger warriors tried to smash through the obstacles, Elias used his speed and intelligence to outmaneuver the dangers. He dodged a collapsing wall at the last second, slid under a row of spinning blades, and tricked a pursuing beast into falling into a pit. Above the arena, Vieira leaned forward in her throne, watching with interest. While the others relied on their brute strength, Elias was using his mind to survive. Meanwhile, Craxus smashed through a wall, forcing his way through the maze. He noticed Elias slipping through a narrow passage and growled in frustration. "Clever little human," he muttered. After several intense minutes, Elias finally reached the exit of the maze. He stumbled out, catching his breath. To his surprise, he wasn't the last one to finish. Several competitors had been eliminated. The crowd murmured in shock. A human had survived the first round. Vieira smiled. Perhaps humans are more than just an upstart race after all. Elias wiped sweat from his forehead. One challenge down. But he knew the next ones would only get harder. And the galaxy was watching. The beast's glowing blue eyes locked onto Elias. It roared, shaking the ground beneath him, its massive claws carving deep grooves into the arena floor. The crowd screamed for blood. They wanted a brutal fight. They wanted to see him crushed. But Elias Kane wasn't here to die. He sprinted to the side just as the beast lunged, its spiked tail crashing down inches from where he had stood. Dust and debris exploded into the air. Too fast, too strong. He couldn't beat it head-on. He needed to be smart. He needed to be human. His eyes flickered toward the flaming pillars above. They were held by chains that looked old and weak. If he could just... Elias smirked. Yeah, that could work. The beast turned, snarling, then charged again. This time, Elias didn't run. He baited it, staying just out of reach, leading it exactly where he wanted. Craxus, watching from the sidelines, muttered, "What is he doing?" Vieira, however, understood. He's not fighting the beast. He's fighting the arena itself. Elias dodged another swing, rolling toward a fallen spear from a previous match. Gripping it tightly, he ran toward the central platform, where the largest pillar stood. The beast roared in frustration and lunged again. Elias waited. Now. At the last second, he jumped aside, and the creature slammed into the central pillar, shaking the arena. Cracks formed along the stone. The chains above groaned. Elias spun, gripping the spear like a javelin, and threw it with every ounce of strength he had, directly at the weakened chain. The spear struck true. With a deafening snap, the chain broke. The massive burning pillar collapsed, crashing straight onto the beast's back. A howl of pain filled the arena. The creature thrashed wildly, but the weight of the burning stone pinned it down. Flames spread across its armored body, and its movements slowed. Then, silence. The beast was defeated. The arena was still. Then the crowd erupted into cheers, not for destruction, but for brilliance. Elias Kane, a simple human, had just outsmarted the Dominion's deadliest creature. The announcer's voice boomed. The trial is complete. Elias Kane is victorious. Craxus stared in disbelief. Impossible. Vieira, however, smiled. She had chosen well. The Emperor rose from his throne. The entire arena fell silent. Then, in a voice filled with both command and admiration, he declared, "Elias Kane of Earth, you have proven yourself worthy. The Dominion recognizes you as an equal." Elias let out a breath, his body exhausted. He had done it. He had won. Vieira stepped forward, her golden eyes gleaming. "And now, human, let's talk about your future." Elias smirked. "I have a feeling things just got a lot more interesting." The end, or the beginning. Elias Kane stood in the center of the arena, his breathing heavy. The echoes of the crowd's shocked murmurs filled the air. No one had expected a human, weak, small, and inexperienced, to defeat Lord Craxus. Yet here he was, standing victorious. Craxus lay on the ground, his massive chest rising and falling with labored breaths. His red eyes burned with anger, but there was something else. Respect. He had underestimated Elias, and now he knew the truth. The announcer's voice boomed. Round 3 complete. Elias Kane, the human, is victorious. The crowd erupted into cheers. At first it was scattered applause, but then it grew louder. Some spectators even chanted his name. Elias wiped sweat from his forehead. Well, that was unexpected. From the royal balcony, Princess Vieira watched with interest. A small smile played on her lips. This human was different. He didn't win with brute force. He used intelligence, speed, and strategy, and in a galaxy ruled by strength, that made him truly dangerous. Craxus finally pushed himself up, glaring at Elias. Then, to everyone's surprise, he extended a massive hand. "You fight well, human," he rumbled. "I do not like you, but I respect you." Elias smirked and shook his hand. "I'll take that as a compliment." Before Craxus could respond, the arena floor shifted again. New pillars rose from the ground, and the battlefield changed. Elias tensed, ready for the next challenge. The announcer's voice echoed once more. Round 4, the trial of minds. Elias frowned. "Wait, what?" Vieira smiled from above. Finally, a challenge where brute strength is useless. A large holographic screen appeared in the sky. Strange alien symbols and patterns flickered across it. The competitors were each given a control panel, their task unclear. Craxus groaned. "I hate this challenge." Elias glanced at him, not a fan of puzzles. The warlord growled. "I prefer fights where I can break something." Elias smirked. "Then this might be my lucky round." A timer began counting down. The challenge had begun. Elias quickly studied the symbols. They resembled a mix of ancient star maps and complex algorithms. It was a test of intelligence, pattern recognition, and quick thinking. The other competitors struggled. Some simply pressed random buttons. Craxus, frustrated, punched his console, which, unsurprisingly, did not help. Elias, however, focused. His mind worked fast, recognizing patterns and solving the puzzles one by one. The timer ticked down, and slowly his name rose higher on the leaderboard. Vieira's eyes gleamed with admiration. "He's winning." As the final seconds ran out, a loud chime rang through the arena. Elias Kane, first place. The crowd roared in disbelief. Elias smirked, leaning back. Well, that was fun. But deep down, he knew something bigger was coming.